And we are live, everybody. Happy Sunday. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for today's episode of Janey of Canada Live. Real talk about immigrant women trailblazing in Canada. We have three fantastic women on the show today, and I can't wait to reveal them to you. But oh my God, I'm so excited, you guys. So thank you so much for taking time out of your amazing, relaxing Sunday to come learn from other inspired women in Canada with us, to come hear from these trailblazers. Like, you guys are so much. I can't wait to actually share with you. But if you're new to this channel, this is Janey Booz, where we talk about everything life as a newcomer to Canada. Studying, working, getting your money, and thriving as an immigrant to Canada. Typically, a lot of people would hear from me from the videos about like navigating life in Canada, but I can only answer so many questions that pertain to my own experience. So once a month, we bring on other immigrants who have walked this journey, who can share from that wisdom. And today we have three amazing women doing that. Okay, so let's actually practice something, because typically I'll do a recorded video, but this is a live. And that means that we're conversing together. It's like there's a chat function for a reason, and the whole idea is I want you to be able to like ask your questions. If something hits you, be like, hallelujah, like this is a fun time. And because it's Sunday, we're relaxing. Go get yourself a drink, because we're spilling the tea, we're spilling the wine, we're doing everything on this call today. So let's practice. Let's get used to talking to each other. My name is Janey Booz. I'm from Toronto, originally from Nigeria, Abuja, and now it's your turn. Where are you actually watching this from today? Let's see you all in the chat, please. So you might see me in the chat, or you might see my doppelganger, Dami, in the chat, but no, it's the same person, okay? Okay, so Dami's going. Lazan is from Jamaica. Wow. Okay, my Caribbean people, this is beautiful. You got Dwania on the call, so we're going to talk about some, Caribbean African vibes. Awesome, awesome. Let me know where you all are tuning in from today, okay? And the other thing I want to know is, let's start a little something. Who are you excited to hear from? I'm personally excited to hear from Adijat, Adobea, and Dwania, and I'm biased. So tell me, oh wow, Toronto, Jamaica, there's a lot of Jamaicans in the house. Brah, I'm excited. Okay, enough hearing from me. Without further ado, the reason you're here, let's bring on, and they're going to introduce themselves, our amazing trailblazers. Please welcome Dwania, Adobea, and
hi.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much for gracing our awesome stage today. There's people from around the world. And like DJ is just like, we're going to spill the tea. The energy today is vibrant. It's
I'm
like,
ready.
Cheers,
ladies.
There you go.
It's like 9 or 10 o'clock a.m. So water for me for now.
That's true.
We're not there yet.
Honestly, whatever you want to drink is totally fine. So you guys, like, if you don't have your own drinks, you're missing out, because we got ours. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I want us to just kick this off real quick by doing like a round of intros. But because we want to make sure that you're hitting on all the highlights, I'm going to keep it to certain questions. But please feel free to go past it. So in a minute or less, tell me a little bit more about your journey to Canada. Right now, what you love to do, what you get paid to do, and why you decided Canada. Some of you don't have a choice. Let us know. Who wants to go first?
All right. I'll go first.
Go ahead. Adijat. Okay, let's go.
All right. So my name is Adijat Akinsipe. My middle name is Sade for the folks that are Nigerian. So let's see. What do I get paid to do? I get paid to find technology talent for a Big 5 company in Toronto. So basically, they need to hire technology. My team I'm on, that's what we do. We find technology talent across Canada, some parts of USA too. As far as what I love to do, let's see. How long do you guys have? Just kidding. What I love to
do. Is it just me, or did we just lose it?
No, she froze.
Oh no. Okay. We'll come back to her. Adobea, do you want to go?
Sure. My journey to Canada, I moved to Canada 2015 as a student. I came to business school at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. I picked Vancouver because I had lived in the US before in the upper east New York State where it was freezing. And I'm like, where is the warmest place in Canada that I can go? And Vancouver was it. So that was why I picked Vancouver. What I paid to do, I'm a program manager at Lululemon. Lululemon is a big deal here in Canada, and it's an even bigger deal here in the West Coast. So a lot of people ask me if I can give product. Unfortunately, I don't make the product.
I was about to ask you, get me some tights, please.
I can get you some leggings, but yeah, I can talk all about the product all you want, but unfortunately, I can't supply the product. Why I picked Canada was I thought I was like doing my thing in Ghana. I'm originally from Ghana. I was a young up and coming general manager at this small company, and I was making big moves, and I was feeling myself. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm good, all I need to do is get myself a business degree, I start my consulting company, and then I'm gonna just take over the world. And so I really had a temporary plan. Like my husband and I were like, we're just gonna go to school and then go back to Ghana and do big things. And when we came here, we came to Vancouver. I don't know if any of you been. Beautiful places, the mountains, the beaches, we just fell in love with the place. And so we ended up staying longer. But yeah, that's my story.
Thank you. So we have to talk about those tides, please. That's like, and then we'll talk about like some Ghana Nigerian rivalry. You know,
of course, jollof rice here.
We have to do it. Jollof rice. Oh my God, I can't wait. Thank you though for sharing. Dwania, you want to go?
Wow, before I even jump in, for dinner, I'm making Nigerian stew. I am not here to say what rice is better, but I'm here to say
Exactly.
That's all I got. Now, I'm Dwania. I'm originally from Jamaica, a little island that nobody ever hears of.
Nobody.
We brought you great things, reggae, jerk chicken,
everything.
And I moved to New York City when I was 10, and I did junior high school and high school there. And then we moved to Canada. No, I didn't. But I'm here now. It's great. What do I do? What do I get paid to do? Well, there are a couple of things. I do manage a lab. My background's in chemistry. I went to school at both St. Clair College and the University of Windsor. Have a chem lab diploma, a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, and a BA in Political Science that I'm not using. And I also run Canadian Small Business Women. So I do get paid to do that too, because it's something that I love. And what do I love to do now? Now that we're in quarantine, I binge watch a lot of shows. Like I've been binge watching Drag Race UK all day today.
Do you, girl?
That's the makeup tips. I learned a lot of things on that show.
Yes, you learn a lot of things on that show. That's totally true. Adijat, we have you back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but that was technology for sure. So not sure where it cut out from, but I didn't have a choice. My parents, I was born here, but went back to Nigeria and did elementary and high school in Nigeria. And then as a 17-year-old, luckily my brother was here back already. We moved back to Toronto and started our immigrant journey. So as far as other things, so during the daytime, I find talent for Big Five. And then in my off time, I organize and curate travel for women that are single or solo that don't want to travel by themselves. So we travel in a group. And I also have conversations and workshops depending on what it is that's needed. So we go to whatever is needed to be a resource, would be the summary.
Thank you for that. So, folks, those are the amazing women. So now that you know their backgrounds, you can start dropping questions. I see some questions about school, and we'll get to it. So please drop your questions in the chat. Dami is going to be like creating them so we can actually ask our awesome speakers throughout the session. Without further ado, there's a big elephant in this room, and we don't want to beat around the bush. We're all Black women. And if anybody has been following the news, they've been dragging our Duchess, the Black woman in power, basically. And so that's been a topic of conversation with like Piers Morgan, with the Roys and all of that. So one thing we can't escape from is the double bias of being a woman and also being Black. What has been your experience as a Black woman in Canada?
Do we
Came out with the punches on this one.
I know.
Sorry, let's start there. Happy International Women's Day month, by the way. That's the
whole
Let's embrace that. And you know, it's funny you asked that, because I always try to do a comparison of the US and Canada. And in the US, racism screams, in Canada it whispers. So you don't know if anybody don't like you because you're Black. They just they're really nice to your face.
I love that.
But you know, what I have been trying to drive home with a lot of immigrant women is that being an immigrant and being a woman is an asset. You just need to start selling it that way and changing the narrative. Don't go, well, I have an accent. Well, that makes you stand out in a crowd. What's so bad about that? You know, try to shift our mindset so that we can start shifting the mindset of people around us, because a lot of times they're coming for us with their negativity, and we got to play Matrix up in this piece. Okay. Dodge all of that negativity and flip it right back around on them and let them know that what they think is a negative is a positive for us. So yeah, I've had to do some fighting. Like I've had to, not physical fighting, y'all. You know. I've had to do some verbal fighting with people who think that they can belittle me or disrespect me or dismiss me. And if it's one thing I don't take at any job is disrespect, because I'm always ready to leave, like always ready to say goodbye.
Always ready to say goodbye. We'll talk about that fighting aspect and the stereotype that comes with it. But I'll let Adobea, like, what are your thoughts on like being a Black woman in Canada?
I will say that I love that answer about the scream and the whispers, because I also went to school in the US and then I came to Canada. So one thing I will say is that when I came to Canada, especially having really built my career in Ghana, I came with a self-confidence and a feeling about myself that I didn't have when I was in the US. Because when I went to the US, I was a teenager and I was really trying to assimilate. I was really like, you feel that pressure to assimilate and be more like them and to not kind of stand out in the crowd. But here in Canada, like I wore my natural hair. I started wearing my natural hair. I feel more like I can express myself and express my culture more so comfortably than in the US. Really? But I do agree that people do tiptoe around race and try to be like, we're not a melt. We're not like the US. We're much better than the US. We're much more accepting. We're much more welcoming. But then here in Canada is the first time that someone actually used the N-word at me. Like I was getting on the bus and someone got off the bus and was like, oh,
somebody used the N-word.
Here in Canada is the first time. I lived in the US for 5 years, and it was here in Canada twice that I heard someone say the N-word to me. So the first time was like my friends and I got on a bus, and a Caucasian man got off, and he was like, "Oh, a bunch of N's are getting on the bus," and he got off. And then another time I was walking in like Gastown, and then some Caucasian woman turned to me and was like, "What are you looking at, N?" So I was like, "Whoa!" Like, so there's definitely like. And it's mostly people, working class people. I want to put that in quotes. So people who, it doesn't hurt me because I look at you and I'm like, oh, you can't actually come close to me. I'm getting my master's. Like I have a life, and so it doesn't hurt as much. But then in the workplace, what I found was that I am always this person in the room. I'm the only one who looks like me, the only one who sounds like me. And I used to think that let me blend in, but now I don't blend in anymore. I'm just like, this is who I am. I'm different. I bring my experience. I used to really shy away from talking about my work experience back home, and I only try to relate to the people. But now I'm like, this is how it's done from Ghana, and let me see how we can make it work here. So I really do find like accepting, yes, you are different, everyone sees it, you're different, and really like live into that and be very proud and bold about that. And it actually is getting me further in my career now that I've stopped trying to be like everybody else and trying to assimilate, and just being like, yes, I'm originally from Ghana, lived in the US, lived in Canada. I'm a multicultural, multidimensional person. This is me. This is my hair.
Mm-hmm. No, thank God. And like, I'm happy that you speak about coming to that reality of speaking about your international experience and the things that make you nervous. A lot of women, especially new immigrant Black women, still struggle
Yeah.
with that. It's like, literally, we start our stories from the day we landed in Canada. Like,
Yeah.
you do nothing where you
Yes.
were back home. Adijat,
Exactly.
you have a unique perspective to this too. One thing also that you guys might not have picked up on is that all our speakers coincidentally have experience in the US as well. So there's going to be that theme of comparing the US to Canada throughout. Adida, tell us a little bit about your experience as a Black woman in Canada.
I think mine's a little bit funny. So when I moved back here, I was a teenager. So, you know, when you're a teenager and you come from a Nigerian household, it's like, go to school, get good grades, you know. So that was all I focused on. And then when I finished school, there really weren't many jobs here in computer programming. So I moved to the US, and I worked in the US for a long time. And it wasn't, when I moved to Canada, at that time, I wasn't focused on I was still a little bit shielded. So I never really noticed that there was, I mean, I saw Black people, I saw white people, but I was just minding my business, basically, right? Like tunnel, head down, study, hang out with my friends that were my people, and that was it. But when I moved to the US, one of the funny things, somebody's like, oh, well, I'll never forget, somebody said, you're Black. And I'm like, oh, my bad. Thanks for pointing out the obvious. So, you know, it wasn't until then, I've been Black my whole life, certainly in Nigeria. You're not all the same. So I didn't really realize that was the case, right? Oh, sorry, I have this popping up. So I didn't realize all of that. So then in working, you definitely see, I love how much said in US, racism screams, I guess, and in Canada it whispers. It is so true. Because in US, it's kind of like in your face. In Canada, it's not really in your face. It's kind of like, we're just going to poke you here and there to remind you that, you know, we still got racism here. That's the way it functions. So, but in the US, it was, for me, it gave me, you know, the confidence to start coming into myself. I worked in technology. Back in those days, I was almost always the only Black girl. Shoot, almost always. A lot of times I was the only one. And sometimes I'm the only Black person. So I was always in the minority, no matter what it was. Yeah. And I remember the few times that I would see a woman, I'd be like, oh, another woman, you know. And the joke that I had then was, the bathroom for the women, it's only 2 or 3 of us that will be using the bathroom. So you can pretty much, you know, camp out in the bathroom, sit in the chair, you know, the little makeup they have and camp out because there are not that many women there. So it was a very, very, it was an experience that taught me a lot. A few moments here in the process of working, you will get a few people that, you know, will show themselves. And my mom always used to say this. My mother's a typical Nigerian. I'm not coming to visit any child in jail. So I'm going to tell you straight up, she's not coming to visit you in jail. Okay. So I always used to think in my mind, nah, I'm not catching the case over you. I'm not catching the case over you. No matter what somebody did. Now, a few times you have to tell some people about themselves. But then as you get older and wiser, you learn how to do it better, right? And when they come, just like you said, when they're coming with all that negativity, it's kind of like, no, I don't need that negativity around here. I'm different. I have an accent. My accent's actually kind of messed up, but I have but my accent helps me. Because somebody has never met me before, but when he heard me speak on the phone and he saw me in person, as soon as he heard me speak, he knew who I was. He said, you're Adijat. I remember talking to you. So I will embrace that. I will embrace the fact that I'm a woman. I will embrace the fact that I'm Black. I will embrace the fact that I'm an immigrant. Was it easy? Not necessarily, but I am embracing all of it. And I'm taking all of the things that I learned, and I will own the room. And I will do my best, but at the end of the day, I don't need to blend in. I need to be cordial. I need to, you know, I need to do all the things that I need to do, but I don't need to go and hide in the corner like I'm not good enough. It's not that type of party. It really isn't.
Yeah. So I honestly feel like a lot of that comes with maturity and experience and seeing it happen a lot of times. The truth too is when I moved in 2015, I did just similar to your story. I didn't realize I was Black. In Nigeria, we're all Black, right? You know? So I was at that time learning what it meant to be Black in North America. And because, as you said, Dwania, in the US, racism screams. You're like, you're racist. I know you. We see you. We stay in different roles. But in Canada, it's like, oh my God, you're here. And you're like, is that normal? You're trying to navigate that. So you're navigating learning to be Black. You're navigating being a woman in the workplace. And you're navigating, is this racist or not? For a lot of people who are just starting their careers, who are like a lot of times just happy to be given the job, like happy to be there.
Yeah.
It's usually easier when we feel like, yeah, you have a master's, like you have your third job, like you're a manager now, like you know your stuff because your stuff got you hired. But a lot of times when you're just entering the room, you don't know all of that. So let's talk about like practical things that you've done or like resources of things that have helped you in conversations where you're like, I sense negativity, I sense something being off because of prejudice. How do people today handle situations? With a boss, with someone in authority, with somebody who has given them something that they should be thankful for, but this person is giving them some type of oppression. How practically can somebody navigate that situation today?
Oh, okay. I'll go first. I think, yes, you're right. A lot of confidence comes as you mature. The person I am now is certainly not the person I was at 22. So it's different. But the thing is, I think one of the things that's very hard for us to understand is when you get hired for a job, they're not doing you a favor hiring you. You are bringing something to the table. That's why somebody is paying you a paycheck. So you need to understand what your value is. And yes, I understand confidence comes as you grow. I get it. Okay. But you have value. You have to, it starts with you. You have to understand you have value in whatever you're doing. If you are the person that is in the mail room that makes sure everybody gets their mail, you have value because you are organized and you're doing something. That's why somebody's paying you. So that's the first part. The second part is, people say this often, but sometimes it's not understood. You have to read the room you're in.
What does that mean?
You don't come into the room and just start all over the place.
This is how I am.
You need to know what's going on in the room. Like, take a minute, understand who, what, where, what. You have to understand that. Okay, you don't just come in and like in Nigeria, you just open a basket mouth. You don't do that. Understand the room and understand what's going on. Understand what you're here to do. Make sure it's clarified for you. Now, when somebody brings that negativity to you, you have two choices. Actually, three. You have one choice. They bring it to you, you give it right back. Fine. And it's like exactly as it's what you throw it right back, Or they bring that negativity to you, and then you decide, you know what, I'm gonna slow this down, and then I'm just gonna have this person show themselves out. You let them show themselves out. Because like they say back home, when two crazy people are yelling, if a crazy person comes and you're yelling with that, you're fighting with them, people look at both of you and think both of you are crazy.
That's true.
So what we're not going to do is go back and forth. We're not doing that. You can state your case. You can nicely put somebody in check without ever raising your voice, without cursing them out. It doesn't come every day. And if it so happens that you raise your voice, it is what it is.
You learn. You learn from that.
Okay? But you have to understand what's at stake. Okay? If the person is coming at you with some total BS, then that's a whole different thing. You understand that. If somebody calls you the N-word, well, at that point, God help everybody. Okay? Because people have called people the N-word at work. And at that point, I can't even say anything because, I don't know.
At work.
Right? People have called people the N-word at work. Grown folks. So it all depends. But I think in all of it, you have to decide how much of this negativity you're going to allow to have you come out of your, who you are. Okay. Yes, you could curse people out. Yes, you could tell people about themselves and wag your finger. But then we also will talk about the angry Black woman. If I say something about something, I could automatically become the angry Black woman, right? And if you remember, Cheryl Underwood, if she had come at Sister Girl the way she was coming out, they would automatically say she's the angry Black woman. Automatically. And everything that happened before that will be forgotten because she lost her mind, right? So sometimes when you have a point to prove, you might have to slow it down and give facts and put someone in check. Because at the end of the day, if you come yelling, all the things that happened before, zero is gone. So for me, yes, it comes with confidence, but at the same time, you have to always remember what your end game is.
Yeah.
There's always an end game. Remember your end game. And a lot of times when people act a fool, somebody else will also back you up. In many cases. And sometimes you're there by yourself. So, you know, you got to speak up. But it comes with a lot of confidence. And you're going to make mistakes. Learn to forgive yourself. I have a whole lot of mistakes. So, you know.
That's the part. Yeah. So, and you guys, please always feel free to like jump in and have the conversation at this point. But speaking about like advocating for yourself, there's a question about like imposter syndrome, and which is true. It's like a lot of times reading this book, The Memo by Minda Hart, I think every Black woman should read that book. Like it'll tell you a lot of things, because I know us all on this call right now have had that moment where like, is it me? Or when something happens to you at work or in business where you're like, something just is off. And you're like, is it me or did something just happen? But then a lot of times there's that imposter syndrome. Like you get hired to do a job, you think they hired you for all this value, but in your first couple months, they're just like hammering you for something. And sometimes that dampens your confidence. So Georgia is asking, what is your advice for a newcomer to deal with imposter syndrome? And like, what steps did you take to like show your strength in a new country? And Adobea, I think you'll be able to answer this one to start.
Yeah. So I like just building on what she was also saying, there are 4 tools that I've had to learn about and use, and I'm just going to go through them. So the first one is like emotional intelligence. There's also a book about emotional intelligence, and self-awareness is the number one thing that I think back home we don't really care. Like back home you go to school, they give you the job, you do the job. So it's like self-assessment is not something that we really do. Understanding what your values are, knowing what your strengths are. So like there's a strengths finder test, there's personality assessment test, because sometimes you know you're good at certain things, like you have the degrees, you have the experience, but when you have someone like you have 16 personalities, there's so many online value assessments and strengths assessment tests. Sometimes when you put those in and you get that report, spits out you, tells you that you're an analytical brain, you're this or you're this. Those kinds of tests give you the words and helps you kind of build that confidence, because when you sometimes you don't know what it is, you know you're great at so many things. Like I knew I was great at so many things, but especially when you're looking for a job, people want to know, what are you good at? Like what are your 3 strengths? What are your top strengths? And a lot of people just spit this, oh, I'm a good communicator, I'm a good at team skills, I'm a hard worker. No, people want to know specifically what your strengths are. And when you have those assessment tests done, you have your strengths, then you can start to know that, okay, this is what I can be counted for, this is what I can be counted on. And another tool is about managing up. So managing up is where a lot of immigrants, especially for me and a number of new immigrants, when you're coming into Canada, maybe you were a manager back home, but you're entering the market, and understandably so, you might start from like an analyst position or a junior position or a mid-level position. And the manager that you are answering to, you know more than that person. But because you don't have this Canadian context, you've had to come in at a level, maybe 1 or 2 steps below your level. So you have to learn this. It's like a fine art of managing up, mirroring what the person is saying, yes, I do. That's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. Let me take that away and let's test this idea. And then I also have 1 or 2 ideas that I think we can test. And so you know that you have a better idea, but you don't say, oh, I don't think this is a great idea. I think we need to do this well. So there's like a fine art skill that I have had to pick up when some people, I go into a room, people come up with ideas and I'm like, I'm like, this is not going to work. But I can't say that. I just say, this is great. This is a great start. Like there's a mirroring language that you have to learn. Like she's saying, like knowing your end game and knowing like how to play the game. There's a way in which you need to navigate the Canadian work culture where they're to be direct is what I'm used to as a West African, more British. We're just like, this is not going to work. I think we should do this. You have to find a finesse way of saying that this is a great start. That's a great idea. Let's try this out. So there's managing up, there's mirroring, there's knowing yourself, assessing what your strengths are. So those are some of the tools that I have learned to use, because when I came, I would just look at people and be like, this is terrible. I don't know what you're doing. But if I say that, I'm like completely X'd out. And people are like, she's difficult to work with. You do your performance first eval with your manager and they're like, she's not like, she's too direct or she's difficult to work with. You don't want to be seen as difficult to work with. You need to actually build allies, especially when you know that you have a wealth of experience, but you are starting in at a more junior level. You need to learn the art where you make the person think that they're the ones that came up with the idea, but it was actually your idea. And then you fine tune ways to eventually get the shared credit for some of the ideas. So you're making your manager look good, but then the manager will then be able to know that you're the one that helped them with the idea. So those are some of the tools that I have learned to overcome my, double guessing and second guessing myself and imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You did like strengths finders test, emotional intelligence, like managing up and mirrored. Personally, like a lot of people see me now and say, oh my God, you have such an amazing personality. You're such an extrovert. I did not believe what people have been saying for years. That's true. I was like, yeah, right. You're just saying that because you like me or because you want me to dance for you. Things like that. Mm-hmm. But the personality test really helped because when you have proof on paper, you're like, this thing says it. And getting feedback. I always used to ask for feedback from people I've worked with, my professors, even as much as I'll like put that thing on LinkedIn, let everybody else see. And personally, I keep something called a brag book, where it's like when there's achievement in a week, like, oh, I did this project, because you will forget. The human memory is wasteland sometimes. You don't remember your good days. So when you're down, you just go look at this, your brag book thing on all the things you've achieved. You're like, is that me? Stop it. So that's actually helped, right? What do you think, Dwania?
Yeah. I know for me, just adding to what Adobea said is, know what your manager's manager wants. That was something that I've always done, because if I know what my boss's boss needs, I know exactly what to get to my boss before he or she asks for it.
That's great.
And, that whole level of cultural intelligence is very important. Just like how they're teaching all the good old boys in the Canadian corporate world how to interact with all the people overseas that they're going to have to deal with for all their mergers and acquisitions. We have to learn cultural intelligence in terms of how to approach situations in the Canadian environment. Like you said, you can't just be direct, and we're used to being direct, right? You have to
switch that.
I've had conversations with my boss where I'm like, I write an email and before I press send, I have to go, oh, how's your day going? Like, fluff. I'm not here for fluff. I just
you go back in and add it on top after what you really want to say.
Right. Awesome. So, and it also helps. The one thing, I am uber outgoing. However, whenever I'm new in a space, the first thing I do is I'm the best observer. I am really good with personalities. I want to see how you are when you don't know that I'm watching you.
Yes.
Because that helps me know how to approach you. And that has worked wonders for me. Make sure that you really understand the personalities that you're dealing with. So those personality tests are great for you, but it's great for your interactions as well.
Yes.
Know the type of people you're around. Know the personalities of your team. Know the personality of your boss so that you know exactly what types of, how to approach conversations. Like, for example, if I wanted a week off, I knew my boss would be like, oh my gosh, a week. You know what I would always do? And every single time I do it, it works. And I'm like, how does he not get that I'm doing this to him? I will always go and be like, I kind of want 3 weeks off. And he'll be like, what? 3 weeks? I'm like, okay, fine. I'll take a week.
Love it.
And he's always like, okay, fine. Which week works for me? Which works for me?
Which actually brings us. Yeah, sorry, finish.
No, I'm just going to say, so just learn the personalities because you know exactly how to interact with them.
So personalities is one thing, but something you just touched on a little bit is the art of negotiation, which we were not taught really, especially as women and Black women and immigrants. We're not taught how to ask for what we want. And we also know that a closed mouth gets fed, a lot of that nice jazz that's good to quote. But in reality, we know that in the Canadian ecosystem, and Adijat and Adobea, I'm looking at you too, but also Dwania to this one is, people tell you in Canada that you need Canadian experience. It's like everywhere. It's like the same reason they'll tell you, oh, you can't start at the level you were back home because Canadian experience. But they also tell you that you need to network and have allies. You've even said that on this conversation today. So as a new immigrant to Canada, I'm building my network from scratch. I'm already prejudiced and all of that. We know that. How do I navigate that so that my immigrant self is not showing as a negative in interviews and how to get the job? So it's the art of like, how can we negotiate better? How can I even get allies and mentors? And what should I be looking for when it comes to careers? Adijat, want to start? Or Dwania looks like you.
I don't want to jump in because networking, I'm a queen when it comes to networking. It's what I love to do because I like to talk and I like to meet people. And I used to speak at a lot of the immigration settlement agencies. And step one, I always say, is make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated. Make sure that you are a part of groups and forums on LinkedIn and that you are commenting on things. Because the first thing I look at when I'm a hiring manager, I go on LinkedIn and I look up your name and I'm seeing how you're setting yourself up. Set yourself up as an expert in your field. Because what happens
now, it's like no one can see you, so they only can see your online profile.
Exactly. And if you're in a group and let's say, I'm just going to bring it to chemistry because that's what I know. If you're in a group talking about chromatography and you're just like answering all these questions and I'm looking for someone who's good in chromatography and I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, you're answering all these questions, you're interacting. Now I'm coming to you. You don't even have to come to me to look for a job. Right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you know your worth, and the more people you're helping in these forums, that's also building your confidence because people are accepting what you're saying as truth, right? Yeah. So that's like the big interact in all these online forums and reach out to organizations that might just be looking for someone to help them with something, like little startups where you can volunteer for your home. I can write up some papers for you. I can review papers for you, things like that. Try to find ways that you can meet people as much as possible online right now. There are so many options online, honestly. So yes, network, LinkedIn and Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse now, you can be going.
Oh no, Clubhouse is a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
Okay, as an Android girl, I'm gonna be like, whatever. Folks, I figured before I do this, this was my Janey's my girl. This was my self-care weekend, so my internet might be dying in and out because the reception here is kind of poor. So if I go missing, that's why. So with regards to when you are new, LinkedIn is free. Yep. I don't understand why you're looking for a job or you're new to a space and you are not on LinkedIn, you are not joining associations. There are so many webinars, seminars, workshops, masterclasses, and it's free or almost free. So please explain to me why you are not partaking. What are you doing? Right?
I'm sorry.
In order for people to see you, you have to get out there. Right? I'll never forget, way back when I had an aunt that said, well, you're single and you are sitting at home, nobody's going to knock your door, throw himself on the hood of your car. And you're dying in love. You got to get out. You got to go take some shots. When you are
why not?
And I'm like, you got to get out. So number one, there are things that are there now that I wish we had when we landed. To be honest, there are so many organizations to help you find resources. Sometimes they even have training for free. Okay, that if you come back and you're a Canadian citizen, you can't get. But if you're a permanent resident or other things, you can get these training things. So you want to go and find associations that make sense for you. There's Black associations. There's the ones that are for almost every country has an immigration landing association. Join them. If you're a woman, join the one for women because they will most likely be talking about resources for women. You got to do your research when you land. And yes, they say you need Canadian experience. And sometimes some of this also, as a talent acquisition person, I will say this, there has to be some education of hiring folks to understand that in quite a few cases, experience coming from outside is actually work experience. My favorite one that I tell people is a CCIE in Israel, which is a Cisco certified engineer. In Israel, in Ghana, in Nigeria, London, it's all the same CCIE.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You have to have a certain level of work and labs to pass. It doesn't get handed out because it's a different country. If somebody is in the stock market and they're traders, it might be slightly different, but the whole art of doing the job, they have. So I think that's the one part that doesn't have to do with the immigrant, but it's mostly companies that have to do that. But for the immigrant myself, one thing I will ask everyone to please do, especially before you get that job and after you get that job, especially, we have this thing where we have our jobs, we do our jobs, tunnel, we do our jobs, we go home. We do our jobs, we go home. Stop that behavior.
Stop it.
Stop it.
I let you just say that like my mom.
Yeah.
You have people, you could be amazing at what you do, right?
Yeah.
You could be amazing at what you do, but if people don't know that you're amazing at it, how are they going to come and be your sponsor? How are they going to speak up? How are they going to give you opportunities or recommend you for opportunities because they don't see you? You have to. At work, they have employee resource groups. Join them. They have committees. There's so many things at work you need to join. You don't have to go drink beer after work. You don't. But you want to be inside and kind of at least associating with the people around you. You've done stuff because at the end of the day, not all opportunities you go ask or apply to. Most 9% not going to get somebody's going to refer you or give you information. Or even they won't have like their response, they would have talked about you so well like that. You're basically walking in to go say, thank you very much, and I'll take the job now. So, but if you're not doing, let it be seen. Not what you say, but what you do. People see what you do. I look at what people do more than what they say. Dwania had a point. She said she looked at people on LinkedIn. You better believe we creep the heck out of LinkedIn as recruiters.
I'm going to say,
we are clicking everything and looking. Okay, if you're on LinkedIn and you over there arguing with people and cursing people out, well, guess what? I don't know about this, right? It's the truth. Because I'm looking, I'm like, okay, what if he's on my team? Is he going to curse people out the same way or she? So you have to understand everything you do. It's who you are. It shows who you are, right? Mm-hmm. And I agree, we need to be authentic and bring ourselves to work. Bring your true self to work. But I will give you this caveat. Some of yourself needs to stay home, okay? Some parts
sorry. You need to say that again for people in that because they told me that I can bring my full self to work.
No, girl, don't fall for that.
I can bring my full self to work.
Okay, some things need to stay home, and you need to. The art of deciphering what needs to stay home is not free. You got to learn that from lessons. So I think basically, as an immigrant, get out there. Even if you're introverted, keyboards are wonderful. Type behind the keyboard, but you have to take shots to make the basket. You have to get out there. And if you find people that are in your space, go and learn from them. If you reach out to 20 people to say, can I ask you this thing? Not everybody has time for coffee chats. Look, I'll tell that in a heartbeat. But you can ask, you might get one, but if you have specific questions, ask those questions. LinkedIn has a wonderful feature that I love right now. You can do voice recordings in the DM. I make voice recordings because I don't have time to type. I will answer your questions in a voice recording. Many people will answer. If you be direct, ask the question, but you have to get out there. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
So, Adobea, you've seen a lot of like resumes as a career coach as well. Yeah. What is something that, because when we do resume coaching, a lot of times it's like there is that CV versus resume, and people don't know how to position themselves on paper for the Canadian market. So what is that one or two things that you need to tell immigrants watching this who are worried about why their resume is not even getting them the interview? What is the one mistake, two mistakes you usually see that people need to do better at?
I think a lot of people go for quantity instead of quality. And so we've got like, I'm just throwing things at the dart. And if I sent like 100 applications a day, or I sent 10 applications a day, tailor your resume to the job description. So it's like SEO, like keyword search. You have to literally have the job description in front of you, highlight the keywords. You know, the job description always says, the preference, must-haves. It has all those things. Take those words and literally put them on your resume. Because in Ghana, we called it something else. You know, we referred to marketing as this. Here is maybe more specific. They're asking for digital marketing skills. They're asking for SEO skills, and you're like website research. You just have to make sure that you use the exact keywords that you have on the job description to the resume. And quality is better than quantity, because people are so, so intense on getting a job. They just start to tweak here, and then because it's all a marketing, a marketing position, or it's all a business analyst position or a data analyst position, they're like, this is my data analyst resume, this is this resume, and then they send the same resume to the same applications. But companies want people who want to work for that company. They just don't, even if you are BSing your way through it, you have to, every time you apply for a company, that has to be the company that you apply for. You have the skills that they're asking for in the way that they're asking for it. And sometimes too, less is more. Just go for, some people have all the tasks and all the things that they did on the resume rather than focusing on their achievement. This is what I achieved. If you're a recruiter, you're looking at a resume, or a hiring manager, you're like, what is this person going to do for me? So some people put all the tasks that they did, but it's like, this is what I achieved in this role. 3 bullet points, get straight to the point, and always tailor your resume to the job description.
Thank you.
Okay. Just want to jump in.
Go ahead.
You hit the nail on the head when you said tasks. Like when I look at a resume, like in the past month, I've hired 2 lab techs. And when I look at a resume, I want to see those key results. I don't want to see the tasks you did. I want to see what was the result. And what I also want everyone to take home is, please know everything that you put on your resume, because I'm the type of interviewer, I don't ask all that personality stuff. That's for HR.
Yeah.
I am asking you, if you told me you are proficient in gas chromatography and I ask you how you work the gas chromatogram and you can't answer me, what that means to me is that you are not proficient. You need to make sure that everything on your resume is true. Because if I see one thing that's not true, I don't want to talk about the rest. I'm done.
Adijat has something to say.
I got stuff to say on this one. Okay. When you are applying for a job, I need you to take a look at me and remember this. If you're in tech, let me help you out.
Yeah.
I worked in tech for about 18, 19 years before I switched into recruiting. And it's been about 10 years now in recruiting. So when you are sending that resume, and you somehow think that the person on the other side is stupid, and you have all this stuff in that resume, and you just throwing in words there, and you got a 7-page resume that's a book with 9-point font. I wear glasses. I don't need to be blind when I'm reading stuff. So think of me as the recruiter looking at your resume. I've done the job you're applying for. Okay, the hiring manager has done the job, or they are doing the job. They are not stupid. Do not, please, I beg you, don't put all these words and all these technologies. No. The resume is representing you. It's speaking for you when you are not in the room. Yeah. If there's nothing you remember from what I say today, your resume is speaking for you when you are not in the room. Please let your resume speak for you accurately. We've had too many situations. The resume looks amazing. The person shows up to interview, and you're like, what the heck happened here? This ain't the person. You can't answer the questions. Like Dwania said, you're very, when we ask you the questions, you're on the surface. I don't care about all the stuff you were doing and all of that. You can say what you were responsible for, 2-3 bullets. But I want to see, what were you responsible for? What was your achievements? Yep. Okay. What did you do? What was your successes in there? 2, 3. I don't need to see a 7-page resume. And then at the top of your resume, where it says, people say their profile, don't throw in all the, I'll talk from a technology standpoint, don't throw in all the technologies. I want to know what makes you so amazing that the remaining 50 resumes, I'm going to be like, I don't need to see them. This is it right here. That's what I want to see. Don't tell me you're a team player. Yeah. I don't care. Wait, if you're not a team player,
everybody's a team player.
Everyone. No, the one I like the most, you tell me you have excellent verbal and written communication skills, but then I'm reading your resume and it's 8 pages long. Why are we here? Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure it speaks for you. Put the details, put what's needed on there.
Okay.
It's okay not to know something, especially when you show for the interview. If they say, the biggest question, oh, well, you don't know. So you know what? I am not familiar with that. However, I'm resourceful. I'm a quick learner, and I can learn that. That's pretty much what they would care, because you're teachable. So when it comes to this whole resume business again, put yourself, be accurate about what you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure that you're searchable is super important. But I think at the same time, always think that the person on the other side, you have about 10, 15 seconds to catch my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Every application, every job you apply to has anywhere from 150 to 600-700 people applying for the same job. Average is about 350 people per job. So yes, it's possible you apply and you don't get in, but when you do have somebody's audience and I'm reading it, give me something to read, give me something to be excited about, where I'm like, whoa, we need to hire this person. Yeah. Make sure it's that. And whatever your job is, be accurate. We don't need to see all the 99 tasks that you do. No. If you're a BA and you're telling me I wrote requirements, well, no kidding. What are you supposed to do?
Exactly.
Right?
That's an entire job.
Exactly.
Okay. Tell me about the industry you're in. If you're in the capital markets, tell me about what you know about the business. If you're in sciences and chemistry, talk about that. Talk about what you know. But the whole listing the job back to me, my guy, I know you're a BA. I know you're writing recommendations.
I know.
If you're not, you have a totally different problem. So I think it's being accurate. With what you're putting on is a big deal.
That was episode 1 of the frustrations of a talent. Tune in for more of my channel. We're talking about do's and don'ts of the resume. So we do have 10 minutes before we go into audience questions. You guys, time is flying by, and I'm just like learning a whole lot. But we need to go back into the meat. Something we cannot not talk about is being women and the aspect of family and having kids and what it does to you and your career and your business. So recently, Global Mill, a popular newspaper and research marketing publishing company, just released an article on the power gap. So not only do women earn less than 80 cents on the dollar to men, it's even worse for women of color. But now with the onset of COVID, being primary caretaker in the home, plus doing your career and your business, so much is happening to our careers. And so the question now is, tell me a little bit more on how, because I'm just starting a family. If you're new on my channel, you know that. And really, there's real anxiety of children, business, and career. Like, how is that supposed to work? So, Adobea, you shared with me you're pregnant doing your master's. I don't know how you did that. You're MBA. Bowing for you right now. I know Adijat has kids that she just ran away from and putting her out there. and Dwania does not. So I want to talk a little bit about like kids and the influence on your career. Knowing what you know now, what is your advice to people starting out on navigating kids and a career and a business?
Yeah, so echoing what you said, COVID has, I was reading a lot of research, there's research out by McKinsey as well on the impact that COVID has had on women in general. And COVID has actually, one of the readings said is set women back about maybe 4 or 5 years plus. So some of the inroads that women had made in the career, women are getting into the board, but there's a lot less women at the C-suite level. And then as you rise, the level of women drop, and then the women of color continue to drop and drop. So I think one of the things that I have realized is that I started my side hustle, StartGrowPivot, for one of those exact reasons. So when I was in school, my husband and I wanted to start a family. For us, we have a biological clock, so age is not on our side. So sometimes you have to choose. And I think one person said it well, is that let's say you want to retire at 55 or 65. I'm 36 right now. So you have maybe 20 something more years in your career, but you only have this window to have your kids. And so you might take a backseat to your career. There might be some you will slow down, but then you only have this time. So you only have this amount of time to spend with the little ones. So yes, you're going to take a backseat to your career. What can you do? You can start a side business. It's something that a lot of women are starting to put more and more energy into, is starting something on the side, starting a consultancy on the side, starting something that you control your own hours, getting, now there's working from home, which opens up a whole nother possibility where you can start something on the side. So for me, I had I got pregnant. I was working part-time at TELUS, and then I was still in school. I had my daughter. All of my classmates went on to get all these jobs and things, and then I stayed at home with my daughter. And at first I was feeling quite useless. I'm like, I've come here, I've gone and got an MBA, I've got a business degree, and I'm sitting here with a child and I'm not doing anything. So I looked into women organizations, like Women in Leadership. I started to volunteer, and I started to build back my network and started to build back some of my, use my skills, because I just gotten a master's degree and I wanted to use some of that skills as quickly as possible. So I do think that there's a reality that we can't escape, is that if you take, and here in Canada especially, if you're taking 1 year off, 18 months off, my first job was a mat leave contract. I took a mat leave contract of someone I knew who was pregnant. And when I was doing the job, she was also concerned about how well I was doing the job. Sometimes you come back and they're like, oh, this person who took your mat leave has done such a great job. They're guaranteeing you a job, but they're like, oh, maybe we can do something else. And there's a huge risk to taking like 18-month long, 1 year mat leaves. So I have another colleague who took 6 months. Another one is thinking about taking 9 months. So you are shortening your mat leave or you're prolonging your mat leave, but think about what can you do with your talents and your skill sets and your hobbies, and start something on the side. No matter how small it is, I think women need to start to look at that as a potential, so that you're not 100% dependent on the job, because they need us for a short period of time, and they need us whether we like it or not. And if you want to be able to balance, you can do it, but they're going to need us at some point. There's always taking step backs here and there. My daughter had a surgery. I had to take time off. There's always going to be taking time off. So I have something that I'm growing. I have a business and a brand that I'm growing. And that has given me so much more, just so much more like hope that there's a way that women can do this career thing, and also start to have, I think side hustles is one big thing that I encourage people to look into.
Okay. No, thank you. So definitely start having something on the side so that you're not focusing too much on that. Adijat, when we're talking about Friday and prepping for this call, you did have polarizing viewpoints with grown children and your career and running away from them. What are your thoughts on how people can navigate this whole conversation around kids and a career?
I think there are a few things, and some of it is learning lessons. First of all, our older aunties, they lied to us when we were young. Okay?
They all lied.
They lied to us. They lied to us. They didn't tell us that pregnancy for everyone is very different.
Yeah.
Some people can be pregnant and be playing basketball, jumping up and down, doing yoga. Life is good. And then there's some people that would be pregnant and be on bed rest. And that's the reality of life. So if there's anything as a working mom, if you are planning to start a family, the number one thing I would tell you to do, make sure you have an amazing and reliable support system. You will need that support system more than anything. In fact, even if you're not having kids, as a woman, you need that support system, because so many things will happen that can affect you, your career, and your life. You need that sisterhood. If it's family, if it's your sisterhood, whatever it is, however that support system manifests for you, make sure it's solid. And of course, you be a solid one too. Yeah. Because there was no way. My son's he'll be 21 soon, and I have an almost 14-year-old daughter. And there's no way. Yes, it did slow down my career because you take time. I had kids in the U.S., so we didn't even have 6 months. It was 6 weeks and that. Okay, but vacation, so if you kind of did, but I didn't have that length of time. Right. And then sometimes you might have to take a different job. You might have to work nights. I remember after my son, I switched to nights. I was still in tech. So there's so many things that you may need to do in order to earn, because some of us, the reality is we had to still earn, right? When you are on mat leave, make sure if you're starting a side hustle, great. If you're not able to start a side hustle, stay active. Meet up with your friends, co-workers, as your schedule allows it. Well, not during COVID, of course, but still stay in touch with what's going on in the industry. Understand what's going on for your own mental space, right? Whatever works for you that keeps you mentally engaged. It's not the physical part that's the snapback from having kids. It's the mental part. And we as Black women, I come from a country where we don't talk about mental health. That's a whole different conversation, okay?
Yeah.
But you need that support. And however your support is, if you find out that you seem to sort of kind of think you have postpartum depression, whatever, get resources. There are no awards for being superwoman.
Yes.
Let me say this again. There is no award for being superwoman. Everybody needs help.
Yes.
As a parent, you will love your kids, yes, but there are some times you need a break from your kids. I've been blessed where I knew I needed a break from a 3-month-old child, and I called her godmother and said, you need to come get these kids. That's exactly what I said to her. And she didn't ask me why or what. She got in the car, she drove over, she picked up the kids, took the back. In fact, she didn't even take diapers. She bought diapers at the store. My kids were gone for the weekend. And all I did after she left, I'll never forget, I slept.
Yeah.
I was sleep deprived. I slept. So you need that.
Yeah.
When you are in this, or daycare pickup, there's a whole slew of stuff. Your partner could be wonderful, but you still need, because we all know as women, we work outside, we work in the house. It's not going to balance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to have that system. Now, as a woman, if you feel the need to have somebody come clean your house and you can afford it, pay. If you can afford to have groceries delivered, pay. If you, whatever it is, if you want to drop your clothes at the laundromat and pay them, whatever you need to stay
African mothers have left the chat.
Yeah.
Jamaican mothers.
So
the notion that it's for the Nigerians, I actually had somebody tell me, "Oh, it's lazy people that pay people to clean the house." What, bro? You're mistaken. Whatever you need to do to protect your own sanity. I know now we talk about self-care. This is my self-care weekend, so this is an easy thing for me to do because I'm chatting with girlfriends. But you do need time, however it manifests for you. You have to take that and understand that and do it, because on the long run, you got to know your end game also. On the long run, it's a career. It's not a job. So if you need to take a few years to kind of, get the kids going, whatever resources you need. If somebody offers to come help you watch the kids and you trust them, you better hand those kids over and run out the door.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't care if you go sit at Starbucks and drink an iced refresher, but we have to get away from this notion that we need to do it all.
Yeah. No word for being
it's not. And then the other thing is you have to have a safe space.
Yeah.
I have a few people in my life that I've had for a while that on the days, and I'm not, Janey will say, "Oh, I don't know how you do. You have full of energy." On some days, I'm like this. And that's just the truth. But I have a safe space that I can go to. I'm like, you know what? I ain't got it today.
Yeah.
I need help. And sometimes I don't even have to say it. There's some people around me that will just have food delivered. Like, you know what? What are you feeling? And they have food delivered. Go and sleep.
Yeah.
As a grown person, when another adult tells you, go to bed.
Yes. You know it's serious.
You know it's serious.
Yeah.
We have to realize it's okay not to be okay. What you do about it is the big deal. I think that is something that we don't get talked about. And now I'm in the auntie phase. I'm that auntie that's just going to tell you that. No, don't let that lie to you. Here's what could happen. Be prepared. If it doesn't happen, we prepare for the worst, right? But we hope for the best.
Yes, that's true.
So
thank you.
It's okay to do that.
Thank you. Dwania, you've had a different reality. Can you share with us your perspective of being a woman, Black woman, immigrant, and not having kids, and what that has been like for you as in your career and in your business?
Yeah, it's been interesting on the career front because I am over 40 and I don't have children, but I know that in the workforce, a lot of times the assumption is, they'll take care of it because apparently I have nothing else to do with my life, right? So in my circumstance, I've always had to set boundaries. Now, I'm a very helpful individual and I am a very understanding individual. And I have had to, I think for the place I currently work at, I did 3 mat leave coverages in 3 different departments, QA, QC, and EHS. That's right. And I am very understanding in that. Fine. I looked, all those things related to me in my head. I understood the concept. So it was easy for me to just say, yeah, sure, I'll do it because I had corporate knowledge. So it was easier for me to transition from role to role. But I also had to start setting boundaries because oftentimes it's, well, this person has to leave because of their kids. This person, you know, and you have to fill in because you have no kids. No. That's not how it's supposed to work, right? If I'm available, I'll fill in, and if I feel like it, I'll fill in, and if I like you, cool, I'll fill in too because I don't want you to, you know.
You don't owe anybody nothing. That's so true.
I got your back. You know? You're my people. I got you. Fine. But the moment I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, I am so quick to pull the cord, it doesn't even matter. And I have been very clear with stating, I don't care if I'm going home to sit on my couch and pick my nose. It's my plan.
Exactly.
You
don't have to tell them.
Honestly, and that is so true because there's this concept. I know being like, because of the home I grew up in and the kind of mom I had, business is so glorified. It's like when you're sitting on the couch enjoying that show, you're like, you should be doing something now.
Yeah.
So owning that it's my time and how I want to spend it, how I want to spend it. And I'm learning and practicing slowly. And I think to Adijat's point, having that safe space where you can say it's okay not to be okay, where you can say, listen, I just don't feel like doing anything this week. And like practice saying no with your safe space so that you can learn how to say no with everybody else. I think that's where at least we can start in knowing how to like own our time and our narrative. Okay.
I want to add something into that what Dwania said. Boundaries. Boundaries will save your sanity in every type of situation you're in. If you are at work, I'm like you, I'm helpful. I might bend backwards for you. But the minute I feel that you are feeling entitled to my time, deuces, I'm out. And I don't. No is a complete sentence.
Yes.
Ooh.
No is a complete sentence. That's my motto.
I want to explain to you why. Okay. So yes, boundaries are huge, and we need to learn boundaries.
So speaking about that, I think because of time, we have to now get into the audience question. So Felicia, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, says, so how do you now set these boundaries we're talking about between career, home, social life, even as an immigrant? Because remember, you're trying to network and make relationships and get a job and be nice to people and run a family. So what are practical steps that you guys have used to like set your own boundaries?
Yeah. So for me, as soon as I had worked I had done the weekends, late night emails and all of that stuff. So if you get the chance to start a new job and you see the emails coming in, you decide that, okay, I don't want to put my email on my phone. That's one way you can stop yourself. You can actually make that decision. You can actually see the email and not respond after 6 p.m. Sometimes what I will do is I'll write the email and I'll actually you can set it in Outlook. You can actually time the email to go 8. You can not respond on weekends and so and you will see how it goes. If no one if once people realize that, okay, you don't respond after 7 p.m. or 6 p.m., you don't respond on weekends, they will just not be sending you unless it's an emergency. And this is something that you can also set up with your manager, that I am only available in emergencies. You can text me if it's an emergency. You can say that. If you can't say that, you just take the approach of not responding. So my manager I'll see something on a Sunday. I look at it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Monday's job, that's for Monday's problem. I do not respond to emails after 6 p.m. I do not respond to emails on the weekend unless I literally see the words 911, urgent, or I get a text. So my director, my manager, anytime it was an emergency, they knew to text me because they knew I would not respond if it was on email. If you are someone who has not set those boundaries, you're responding on emails, you're responding on weekends and afterwards, and you're trying to set those boundaries, then you have to have that uncomfortable conversation to say that I've noticed that this is happening, and I've noticed that this is taking. Is this the expectation for my working schedule? Because when I went in with this expectation. Yes, I did a few responses, but I'm starting to see a pattern. Is this the expectation? And what are the overtime? Once you even mention the word overtime, what are the overtime expectations around that? They'll be like, no. We can dial that back. So if you've flustered, you actually need to have that meeting or send that email to say, is this the expectation? Sometimes you need to ask the question. So you've sent me all this work. Am I supposed to give all of this equal priority? Are these all a priority? Like, what is a priority? You have to start to ask those questions to understand that, okay, this is how I want you to know that I'm not going to be doing this weeknights life.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Adobea, for that, because that helped me. Like, at a good time to always start boundaries when you're starting something new. Like, I just started a new job. Everybody's on WhatsApp. I was like,
exactly.
I said, please, I need a different phone if you're going to put me on WhatsApp. And they're like, a different phone. That's always a good opportunity. But thank you for sharing an aspect where if you're already in that pattern, how to have those tough conversations. Appreciate it. Dwania, you're going to say?
Yeah, look, I'm the queen of two phones because they're always like, oh, you can use your personal phone, blah, 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 blah. There are two reasons why I'm the queen of two phones. When I want to turn off work, I can turn it off. And also, when you're ready to fire me, I need to be able to make lunch plans on my personal phone. But I don't, for me, I'm kind of available a lot of after hours. Like, technically I'm a 9 to 5er, but my team works from 7 a.m. until midnight. They know not to even call me before 7 because none of my phones are on before 9 o'clock. Don't care. Send me a text. But if it's after hours, I do have to be available to answer questions. And I'm fine with that because I'm only answering my team questions. Everyone in my facility, unfortunately, we all work different hours. And they'll be up working after hours and you'll be copied on a lot of emails, but the expectation is not for you to answer those emails. I'm only answering whatever my team is like. I can say, when we're done this, I will be logging on to do timesheets and to answer some emails, only because I like taking that 1 hour on Sunday when no emails are coming in so that I can clear my inbox for Monday, because I get between 80 and 120 emails a day.
Wow.
I want to be able to have, because then my Monday morning starts easy, right? So whatever you can do to make your life easier, try to do that. But time blocking. I mean, I run a business and I work a 9 to 5, like the other ladies. The balance is important. You time block, you live and breathe your schedule. If you say, I will not start work until 9 o'clock, don't start until 9. If you say between 7:30 and 8:30, I'm going to work out, do it. If you say I'm blocking off 3 hours for the day to watch a movie, do it.
Okay.
Don't even think of shortchanging yourself for anything else. You need to block your time, schedule it, and live that schedule.
And that blocking time has helped me. If you're working a new job, you started, put busy in your calendar for 4 hours and don't explain to nobody. They'll be trying things to your calendar. It's your time. Thank you. No, but we're running out of time. So for the next few questions, I'd just like one person to take on, because we need to get to the fun part where we play a game, because I've been waiting for that game. Okay. So Lazan says, at what point do you think should you start prepping your children about the culture different? Is it when we're rich or before landing, especially when the child is a minor? Who wants to take this one?
I'll take that one. As soon as you know that you're going somewhere, you start having, depending, of course, it has to be age appropriate. And you start having them, you can look up stuff on the internet, you can see stuff, you can talk to them about it, you can, again, set expectations with your child, prepare them for that, and as they go in, when they start school, it's important, on the first day of school, I phonetically spelled my children's first name. What we're not going to do is have you try to give them a nickname. No. My nephew, if you call there's one of my nephews, if you call him by half of his name, he will correct you real quick and tell you the full name. You will call an 8-year-old boy by his full name. Why? Because we set the precedent. So I think, giving them an understanding, and they're going to notice, go to school and realize maybe they're different or maybe this. Have those conversations. I would say start as soon as you know there's a difference, start talking about it. Because not talking about it and saying they're too young, your 6-year-old is going to come home from school and then call them the N-word. Trust me, it has happened. Okay? So you want to have those conversations. It's a new place. Make it fun. However it's appropriate for your kids, do that. It's going to come home from school and then call them the N-word. Trust me, it has happened.
Okay? We have someone else's tab open.
Yes.
No worries. Okay, no, thank you for that, because I think the truth too is that as African and Caribbean immigrants, we had a different reality. I definitely had a different reality for what my kids are going to experience, and we expect them to have tough skin just like we thought we had, because we already knew and we're solid in our identity. So I like that. As soon as you should start having those conversations. Appreciate that. Okay, we have another question, and I think this is for Adobea. Lazan also asked, how was studying at UCW that they've heard a lot of negative comments? What are your thoughts on that one?
Oh, UBC?
I know you went to UBC, but you're asking University of Canada West, and I know you didn't go there. So maybe I think you had thoughts on University of Canada West. Do you have thoughts on that?
No, I went to UBC, and I think people, like, everywhere you go, anything in the world, there's always going to be negative reviews. Like, so it's about you not like taking your own experience and saying, this is what I'm going to put up with. This is what I'm not going to put up with. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people will say to me, oh, this place that you're going to has terrible. So you can either let that dampen your experience, or you can say, this is what I put up with. This is what I don't put up with. And this is the experience that I'm going to have. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to have the best experience. And if I see some things that are very negative, I'll do what I can to change it. But yeah, do your research, but then don't let a lot of negative things like cloud your judgment, because your experience is your own, and you could have a wonderful time. And then you don't put up with the stuff you don't put up with. That's you can
always, when it comes to school, you can always just like call them and ask them the questions you have that you're seeing online.
Yeah,
like, I heard this about the school. What are your thoughts? And put them in that position. Okay, thank you all so much. Before we get to the final question, which is on best tips, tools, resources, and plugging whatever we do, we have to play a game. Okay. So, the first thing we're gonna do, the game we're gonna play is hit or miss. But before we do that, I have to ask, because there are some West Africans on this call, and there's also an amazing Caribbean lady on this call. You guys know we have to ask this question, okay? How do you pronounce this word?
Plantain.
Plantain.
No, plantain. Done.
Plantain.
Okay, we agree to disagree. So, plantain. So, anyway.
So how is it plantain? How do you say pain? Isn't it PAIN? How is it plantain?
Look, you might be referring to the British way of pronouncing things, but us Jamaicans say plantain, and plantain is life.
Ooh, nah, it's plantain.
Oh no, I agree with that. It is life.
Plantain is life. I have some I'm gonna fry today, actually.
Honestly, and that's one thing I love about Canada, because I have a lot of friends who move to other countries like Australia, and they don't have access to plantain. I'm like, just like that, I'm out.
My life would be over.
Okay, so for the game of hit or miss, the way this is going to work is you all have lived in different countries. You lived in the US, Jamaica, Ghana, and Adijat, Miss Travel, you've been to a lot of places. So we're going to talk about different categories of things in Canada. And the great thing is that we also have Vancouver representation. And then you can say hit or miss depending on your own experiences. Okay. Sounds good? Awesome. Okay, let's start. Obviously, on the plantain conversation, we're going to start with the food in Canada. Hit or miss?
in
Depends on
general.
what day.
Yeah, Canadian food is a miss.
Canadian
Okay.
food is miss.
No. What is Canadian food aside from poutine? I don't like that.
I
Okay,
don't
so
even-
Yeah, poutine is a miss.
Oh
Miss.
yeah. Okay, so miss.
okay, the people, like compared to other people in other parts of the world, he a miss.
Actually, I'll say hit.
It's a hit. Yeah.
I'll say hit.
That's
Yeah, I
nice.
love Canadians.
The Canadian culture.
What is the Canadian culture?
That's the
I
thing.
got nothing.
That's the thing.
Torontonians can't speak to Canadian culture because we're just like in a melting pot. It's like anything.
Yeah.
Depends on the intersection you are at. Okay.
Vancouver culture is a miss for me.
Thank you. We're going to talk about that in a different video. Subscribe to the channel. Okay. The job market, because everybody be asking, how easy is it to get a job in Canada? Is it a hit or a miss?
It's a hit, actually.
It's a hit
Yeah.
if you know how to play the game.
It's a
Yeah.
hit.
And we do have amazing career coaches, experienced managers, acquisition strategists. So I'm not telling you anything. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. The weather, is it a hit or a miss?
Miss.
Total miss.
Oh, it's a miss. Ooh, girl.
Of course.
Miss.
I mean, sun all day, every day. You can't, like, there's nothing better than that.
I honestly, it's the worst. So city life. So Toronto versus Vancouver, hit or miss?
I don't know.
I love
I
Vancouver. It's a hit.
It's a hit. I love city life in general. So
Okay, good.
I
Okay.
guess you could say it's a
Housing.
hit.
You said the hit.
Miss. It's expensive.
Of
What?
course.
Oh, yes.
Housing. It's a
Miss.
It's a
Big
miss.
So everybody get your roommates now. Actually, in the chat, find a roommate.
Or two.
Or two. That's true. That's true. Transportation in Canada, like within, like access in other places, hit or miss.
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 Actually,
Big
you know, transportation in Canada is garbage.
It's
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
visit my home country. Okay. Education. Finally, education.
I think it's a
Hit or
hit.
miss.
It's a hit.
It's a hit. Especially the cost.
International students have what? Left the chat.
Yeah.
The cost is amazing because I mean, when you have to pay $30,000 a semester in the U.S. compared to what you pay
Yeah.
here, it's
Exactly.
a hit.
And
Yeah.
like I said, my speakers are comparing the US to Canada a lot. In their conversation. That's true. Okay, so thank you all so much for coming on the show. But really quickly, before we leave, one final question, and you all have 1 minute to do this. Can you share best tips, tools, resources, and you can plug what you do as well for newcomers to Canada, immigrant women, professionals in Canada, that has helped you, whether in mental health, in career, or business?
I think for me it's a group. Like LinkedIn has been said a lot, and then like just finding groups. So if you're looking for a great tech group of women in tech, if you're looking for like a Black professionals, BBTN, like there's just so many groups out there that I think doing this alone is just not it. Like you need a support system, you need a career group, you need a professional group. And then another place that I really love is called Resume Worded. You can upload your resume online and get like a lot of free reviews and tips and things like that.
What's it called?
Resume Worded.
Like DED, Word.
Yeah, Resume Worded.
Okay,
and then
put that in the chat for people. Thank you.
yeah, and then a book that I wanted to plug, like two books that I wanted to plug that changed my life. It's Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. Like, so she's a career African American woman who married a Ghanaian man and really got her life. Had to understand like all the expectations that was put on her as a woman, and she has a great following and a great platform called The Crew. For me, StartGrowPivot. You can find me on Twitter at StartGrowPivot, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and I just love to talk about what it was like, the journeys, newcomers, like bringing different people onto my Instagram lives and sharing tips and tricks on like how to either start a business or how to grow your career, how to start your career, how to pivot your career.
Thank you so much, Adobea. I appreciate it. Dwania?
Wow. So yes, aside from LinkedIn and joining, really look out for associations that could be related to where you're from, or associations that could be related to what industry you're in. Also, try to make sure that you're just putting yourself out there. Brand yourself based on what you do. And you want to really sit down, and personal branding is important. Make sure you work on that. Brand yourself based on what you do. And where can people find me and what am I doing? Oh my gosh. I'm Canadian Small Business Women everywhere. And on LinkedIn, Dwania McLarty-Peele. But we also have a Canadian Small Business Women page. And I do love answering questions about, anything related to hiring or anything related to startup, marketing, branding. Another thing that I want to throw out there, reach out to settlement agencies. If you go to cic.org or I think it might be cic.gov, or just Google settlement agency. Really, there is a list, and you can click on whichever ones are in your city. It's sorted by, I think it's first sorted by province and then city.
Yep.
And they have a lot of free programs, and you should really take advantage of it because it is very helpful. And reach out to your local library if you want to start a business.
Library.
It's always great. And you can always come to Canadian Small Business Women too, because that's what we do.
I didn't even know libraries could help with starting business.
Libraries are the tea.
Amazing. Adijat.
I would say I was actually going to mention library. The library is a wealth of information when you start, especially now. Internet research is key to what you're doing. Settlement agencies is also important. A lot of large and small companies actually partner with a lot of these settlement agencies and are training people, sponsoring people, hiring from there, where we have intentional searches in there. So yes, get aligned with a settlement agency or 2 or 3, depending on what you need. If you are a mom, if you're a Black woman, I will put this plug in there. If you're on Facebook, there's a group called Black Moms Connection. They talk about everything that does with being a mom. Okay, you're a mom, you're Black. Just about everything you could ever ask will be in there. Okay, LinkedIn, of course, that's a given. Your branding is important. How do you want people to think of you? It doesn't have to be super fancy. I think sometimes you want to make sure you think of how do you want people not to remember you by. It's important. Not just how do they want to, what do you want them to not think you are? That's important to do. Okay, so think about it that way too. Also, getting out and everything that's out there that's free or almost free, attend. There's a seminar, you're a technologist, there's a seminar, whatever it is, click attend. Book yourself, get yourself a schedule and learn. Knowledge is never wasted. For me, you can find me on LinkedIn, definitely. I'm active on LinkedIn. One of the things that I do is I travel a lot. So I'm also found on IG as IT Chick Travels. It's IT and then Chick, CHIC travels.com. There's a website, there are blogs there. And one of the things that COVID has done is made me realize that there are certain things that I have been doing. So I decided to get organized, and I'll soon have Sade Talks, and that's SADE and Talks with an S coming up here shortly, where we will discuss all kinds of things similar and be putting out some resources. So I'm excited about that. It's just getting that organized since I've been doing it for a while. But yeah, that's how I can be found on the internet. I'm definitely, feel free to ask me questions. I'll do my best. Sometimes I get inundated, but I will do my best to clear out my DM and answer questions. So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you all so much. I cannot pay you back because this is one thing, like with your time, your Sunday afternoon, we can't pay you back. And I'm sure all the almost 40 people who joined live and the thousands that would watch on replay also share the same sentiment. I can't thank you ladies enough. And I know I owe you. My children owe you for that.
I'll take jollof payments.
Take jollof, right? Wait, let's clarify. Which jollof are you taking? Are you taking Ghana jollof or Niger jollof?
I take all jollof. I'll let you know that.
It's honestly,
all of them.
You know what?
I'll go, I need another dose of this one.
That's a fleeting house. Thank you all so much. And I honestly, you guys, please follow their handles, follow them on LinkedIn. And to learn more about Canadian small business women, Dwania has books that she didn't talk about today, but you need to do further research. Adobea would help you with your resume and your interview skills and your personal branding as a newcomer to Canada. And Sade will get you hired in tech. Okay,
Yes.
that's Adijat to get you hired in tech. So thank you all so much, and I look forward to having you guys on the channel again sometime soon. Take care.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
ladies. Bye.
Bye. Okay, people. So we've learned so much today. We've learned about the 4 things that have helped, like emotional intelligence, managing up, self-awareness. We've learned about LinkedIn groups. We've learned about associations. Library cards are free in Canada, and that gives you access to LinkedIn Learning, starting a business. I just found out about that. And having tough conversations about racism, being a Black woman, having kids, all of that. This was really helpful to me. I hope it was for you. If it was, please subscribe to the channel, because once a month we bring amazing immigrants to share their stories and give us tips, resources, and nuggets. And this episode was about celebrating International Women's Day. And with that, I will see you on the next one. Thank you and have a lovely week ahead. Bye now. Thank you all so much. Yay! We're out.